Defined simply, misinformation is false information generally shared unintentionally, creating confusion about what is true and what is false. Misinformation is distinct from disinformation, which is the deliberate spread of false information for malicious and destructive purposes. A government may engage in a disinformation campaign as part of efforts to quell an uprising or delegitimize critics, or to interfere with another country's sovereignty, such as its elections. Misinformation, on the other hand, is usually spread without malicious intent. People who share and promote misinformation do so not knowing that what they are sharing is false, mischaracterized, or taken out of context. It's possible that the author of a bit of disinformation might do so intentionally to sow confusion, but the average person who encounters it and shares it doesn't do it with any ill intent. In that sense, this is misinformation. There are various kinds of misinformation you might encounter on an average day. One might be a simple error made by a news organization, usually eventually accompanied by a correction or clarification. Another could be content that is technically true but misleading in some way, such as omitting context or presenting an opinion or commentary from someone as a fact. My personal favorite kind of misinformation is satire, where a website like The Onion or the Babylon Bee writes a story or creates a headline that fools people into thinking that it's true. For example, in 2012, an Iranian news agency shared a story from The Onion claiming that rural white voters preferred Iran's president to Barack Obama. In an environment where people are increasingly prone to share news solely based on a headline, satire often masquerades as actual news, especially when people are predisposed to believe it in the first place. Which brings us to fake news. Throughout his time as a candidate and during his 4 years as president, Donald Trump cited the term fake news to dismiss unflattering or critical stories from established media outlets. According to CNBC, fake news appeared in about 900 of Trump's tweets. His most common targets were CNN, MSNBC, and the New York Times. And while fake news was originally used to describe forms of misinformation, it quickly morphed as a rhetorical device, encouraging people to reject stories or accounts at odds with their prior beliefs. Does an article portray your favorite candidate in a negative light? That's fake news. Does a cable news segment highlight something negative about your preferred political party? That's fake news. Through this lens, it isn't hard to see how easy it becomes to dismiss inconvenient facts and stories as false or malicious. Fake news does not always equate to misinformation. Sometimes it's truth we simply can't stand to acknowledge. Misinformation is arguably more of a problem than conspiracy theories in contemporary American society, mainly because it's more difficult to identify.